Let's talk writing books today and what books I've actually found to be helpful when writing either a novel or a screenplay. But first off, I'm a huge fan of Sid Field. I know that some people aren't the biggest fan of his writing just because they find it very formulaic. I would say if you're someone that is just starting out with screenwriting or you're interested in becoming a screenwriter, for me, having a book that really broke down the structure of it was helpful in at least writing those first 1 to 2 projects. In addition, he has 2 other books that I really love, which is the Screenwriter's Workbook. So he just gives you these exercises in terms of figuring out how to structure your story, what are your specific plot points going to be. Also has the Screenwriter's Problem Solver, which basically tells you how to go through your story once you've written it and identify any narrative problems. Outside of Sid Field, one of my favorite screenwriting books is The Three Wells by Matthew Khalil. But what I love about this book is that essentially he talks about these 3 wells of inspiration. You have the external sources well, which is anything in the real world that you gain inspiration from. You then have the imagination well, which is where you are coming up with ideas and characters on your own. You have the memory well, which is where we take our personal experiences, the personal feelings that we've had throughout our life, and apply that to our characters. And so he just gives you exercises for how to tap into these 3 wells of inspiration. And then this is more of a general writing book, but I love Christopher Vogel's The Writer's Journey, and it just breaks down all of the different archetypes that we find in stories, like the hero, the antagonist, and it's really an interesting look at just the history of storytelling and why we as humans gravitate to certain stories and to certain characters. When it comes to novel writing, these are the books I've gone to. While I'm not a big fan of the Save the Cat screenwriting book, I do like the novel version of it. It breaks down each act and what specific plot points you should have in each act. And she also breaks it down by different genre as well. I'm also a huge fan of K.M. Whelan. So this one is obviously talking about the character arcs from Act 1 to Act 3. This one talking more about how you can establish your themes in each one of those acts, which I also find really helpful. So I like their work just because I kind of take their structure for the narrative, the character arc, and the themes and kind of weave that together. Also a huge fan of Write Your Novel from the Middle by James Scott Bell. This one is basically him making the argument that once you know what that point is in the middle of your story that is going to change your character, who they are at the beginning of the story to where they end, if you can figure out what that midpoint is, what that catalyst is, then you can work backwards from there. So having that basic understanding of your character's arc, I think is really helpful in fleshing out the larger aspects of the story. I also just got Romancing the Beat. Admittedly, I have not read this yet, but I know that this is a really good resource for writing romance. Do you have other writing resources that you find super helpful? If so, let me know in the comments down below.